Welcome to Feminine Power Time. Turn off the chatter and tune in to what matters. This is Christine Arilo, your host, and today I welcome you to a special Power Pause episode. We do these 4 times a year here at Feminine Power Time, and today we are tapping into the power of March equinox. Some people call it spring equinox if you are in the northern hemisphere, and if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's fall. But regardless, we are in the 3rd month of this calendar year and the 3rd moon cycle of this lunar year. And one of the best practices we have at our fingertips that so many of us don't know about because we were never taught about it is the power pause, which is actually using the cycles of the year, the equinoxes and the solstices, to harmonize your rhythm to the natural rhythm of how things operate and get created on this planet in a sustainable way. The wisdom teaching is clear across many different traditions. When you harmonize your rhythm for how you create, operate, focus, you naturally and the things you actually create come into harmony. So for those of you that are new here, welcome. For those of you that have been around for a while, you know that my superpower is taking the deep esoteric, deep indigenous, feminine, yogic, just straight up wisdom and marrying it to our modern lives. And I would say that the power pause, if asked, the top 3 things that keep me out of overwhelm, burnout, and self-sacrifice, that empower me to create sustainable success and save me from myself of trying to achieve too much, too fast, or the wrong things, is the power pause. It really is a leadership best practice. So whether this is about your own personal leadership, whether this is about your team leadership, whether this is about leading in your organization or your business, it all starts with ourselves. So what I'm going to do today is take us on a mini power pause. I have been pausing all week long. I have been leading. I did 2 or 3 team power pauses for an organization I work with. I did a power pause for one of the leadership councils, and today getting ready to do the power pause equinox for Feminine Wisdom Way. And so it's just been, and then also in my own power pause for my own work and my own business. So I hope that everything that comes through today will inspire you to pause for yourself. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to share a little bit with you about what the March Power Pause specifically is for and how to use it and think about it. It's number 1. And then number 2, I'm going to take you through just 1 or 2 simple rituals, simple processes to help you take this and put it into practicality in your own life. And this is a great sampler of how to start to understand these things that can seem so like significant or insignificant, but it's where the juice is. So before we dive into all of that, I want to just let everyone know again that this is the annual time that we start the Burnout to Balance practice, the 40-day practice, which is all about helping you to really reset your rhythm and set your rhythm and patterns and habits for the next whole part of the year. It's also where we kind of dive deep into the roots and get to what is underneath the imbalances that cause you to overgive, over caretake, overdo, over self-rely, all the overs, and under receive. And it's just a great reset for also deepening your patterns and your habits. I love this part so much because it just gets me to kind of clean out my own body, mind, heart, and spirit habits that just aren't serving me and I don't need going forward. And then it helps me reinstall ones that I've been working with and recommit to those that I've been working with. But it also kind of gives me an opportunity to kind of play like, what do you want your daily practice to be? What do you want your evening downshift to look like? What are your weeks going to look like? And where can we get those things into balance? And so check that out at burnouttobalancepractice.com. And we're starting this year we always start like beginning of April. So check it out and we'd love to have you for that. And also for those of you that do join us, there is a bonus that we give that is the actual Equinox Power Pause that we do, a big part of it that we do in the Feminine Wisdom Way. And so you get that as soon as you sign up so that you can do your own deeper power pause that gets you really kind of in there to see where the imbalances are in the different parts of your life. All right, so without further ado, let's do this. So, the reason we pause at all of the four quarter points on the year, the equinoxes and solstices, it is because these are the natural turning points that are happening on the entire planet. Earth level, at a very physical level, and it's also happening at a cosmic level, and the universal level, and the star level. And this is why the ancient people, had the stone circles and they had all these rituals. And why we even, if you look at it, we have rituals and holidays that fall around these time periods. St. Patrick's Day was not just about drinking green beer, you all. It's just not. Spring break, same thing. So there really are these times that are essential for us as humans. When we're working in patterns with them and understand how to work with them, they can really help us create a sustainable rhythm. And the March equinox specifically, there's a couple things to know about it. The overarching energy of the spring March equinox is harmonize. All of the equinoxes, the two of them, are the time frame when there is actually a real point, which is the point where the same amount of light is present as the same amount of daylight. So it's the dark and the light are actually equal. And apparently they say, although I've never tried this, you can actually stand an egg up on its end during the exact equinox point. So there's a lot of science behind what has been spiritually known for a long time. And remember, we always say it's not that it's either science or it's spirit, it's both. It's not either the divine or the earth, the physical plane, the spiritual plane, it's both. And one of the reasons we're in this banana culture that's completely distorted and is because we have been told to overvalue science and undervalue spirit. And we actually need both. We overvalue the intellect, we undervalue the intuition. And so this is changing. And if you're here with me, you probably already know this. And so it's great. We get to use both our intellect and our intuition. And we can have science and we can be in the mystery of not having to know everything. And there just are things that we can't see with our eyes or prove with a formula, but we know in our heart and we know in our inner instincts to be true. And so equinoxes are like that. And they're this time of harmonizing. And four things to kind of think about specifically for March equinox. So number one, it's the time to illuminate imbalances in your life. One of the things that we do at the equinox always is look at our whole life and look at the different realms. So for those of you that are already reading Overwhelmed and Over It, you'll know that in that first section, which is Liberate Your Success, the daring act of liberation is to give your life a harmony adjustment, which is a ritual I do every equinox in my leadership councils and also in Feminine Wisdom Way, where you look at all the different parts of your life and you say, okay, where are the imbalances? And even if you don't know what I'm talking about with the harmony wheel and the 8 parts of a whole life, you can just ask yourself that question of like, okay, where are the imbalances of my life and in my life? And what's really powerful about this, and I'm going to do this with you too, I'll lead you through a short visualization around it, is that what it does is if you spot this preventative care, really, that you can see the imbalances before they become disease, before they become distress, before they become divorce or disaster. You can actually take small but significant steps to bring things back into harmony and to bring balance into the imbalances. So from a wisdom leadership perspective, why wouldn't you pause and look at where those imbalances are in your relationships, in how you're working, in your health, your wealth, your home, your own connection spiritually and physically, and just how you're feeling emotionally? This is the time. Secondly, it's also the time to shift your patterns and shift your habits and to release the habits and the patterns that are not going to serve you going into these next couple months, or really as we go, in the northern hemisphere, spring into summer into fall, and the opposite as is the case in the northern hemisphere. It's what's not going to sustain you in your habits and your patterns. So for example, like for me, I have developed a coffee habit that is more than just one cup a day. And I'm not going to give up my coffee because I actually love coffee. It makes me happy when I don't drink it. I don't get like the jitters and stuff, but I'm not as happy. And so, but if I'm having 3 cups of coffee versus, a cup of coffee, or one of the things that we do at the springtime is we give our livers a break. It's a great time to take a liver reset. And so coffee is something that makes the liver work pretty hard. And all of our livers, from a Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic perspective, the wisdom teaching is they're taxed because they're the generals in the body. And it's about, they work hard and they have to sort all this information and we're just overloaded. So by doing something simple, like for me, shifting the habit of not having coffee until 10 o'clock. So I do my hot lemon water, and then I drink this vegetable broth that's super yummy for your liver, and then I don't have my coffee until 10. It actually resets my habit, but it also gives that liver a break. So it's something very simple, one habit. So as you think about your habits for your morning and for your evening, starting to make some shifts in that. And what's so great about it is it doesn't make what you've been doing before wrong. This is why it always makes me crazy when people are like, gotta lose weight in January, gotta go on a cleanse. And if it's winter where you are, it's a bad time to do a cleanse and it's bad time to diet. You're actually supposed to have a little extra weight on you. And then we lighten up in the spring. And so same thing for us. It's like really taking a look at, let me shift those habits and shift those patterns so that they support me, they support you and sustain you in more activity that's going to be happening. That's what we start to do. So kind of considering that. Number 3, it is time to focalize and commit to your intentions. So this is one of the things I love about March equinox. So many of you know, if you've been here for a while, I teach and I speak and talk about this natural year cycle. And Julius Caesar moved the start of the year from vernal equinox to January 1st. So vernal equinox, March equinox, same thing. And just moved it to the middle of winter in the northern hemisphere. And so that's not that's a man-made start date. And so what I do, the way that I work from a feminine wisdom perspective is I spend the whole month of January dreaming and then, getting clear and really feeling into what I want to do. And it really isn't until like March equinox is the time when you want to say, I choose this. If we were farmers and we were in the field, we would have been tilling our field. We would have been redding things. We would have planted a couple seeds. But, things shift, things change. And there's this moment in time when you have to actually say to something, I choose you, I commit to this. And then we commit to that at March equinox, and then we work it. We work the field. We work with the field in May and June and July and August and September. And September equinox is the harvest. And then you're harvesting all of those things through September and actually all the way through October. And so the choices you make now will determine what you're harvesting come the fall, come September. And the thing is if you commit to too much, you're going to distract and fragment your energy. If you don't commit at all, it's like you're kind of like a windsock with no pole, or you're half-hearted. And so the power of intention is kind of like an archer. Like an archer looks at its target and it focuses on its target and it pulls back that bowstring with like real commitment and devotion. And then it lets the bow go and then it's kind of out of the archer's control. And so for us, how that looks like is at equinox, you want to be like, yeah, these are the 3 things I'm really saying yes to this year. I do it myself for my sacred work. In our leadership councils, all of us are really clear on the 3 pieces of our sacred work we're growing. And so that's part of it, like choosing the projects, choosing the places that you're standing in. And it might not all be related to your sacred work. And remember, for those of you that are new here, sacred work includes parenting, it includes mothering, it includes mentoring, it's many different things. It's not just what you do for your job. And so just kind of thinking about that, like, oh gosh, like what am I committed to? And not committed to and focused on from that place that we often do in our society, which creates pressure, like unhealthy pressure. Oh my God, now I have to commit to something and now I'm going to have to do it. I'm already overcommitted. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about commitment from the heart and a deeper level of devotion. I love the word devotion, that I'm devoted to and I'm committed to being in relationship to these things and not knowing exactly once we let that bow go, the arrow of the bow, we release the bow and the arrow goes, it's much more like sailboating than speedboating. So then we're in this relationship to the water and the wind, and we're attacking as we go month by month, moon by moon, cycle by cycle. And so, like, for example, for me, one of my 3 absolute 100% commitments is to break women free of the imprints and the patterns and the habits and the expectations and the value systems that have kept us deeply ingrained and entrenched, and even I would say enslaved in burnout and self-sacrifice and overwhelm and ways of working and relating that simply do not have our best interests at heart and are not how we actually work naturally. For once and for all, for one and for all, like, I am committed to breaking us free from that. And I can feel that in my heart. Like, I feel it as I speak it to you all. Like, I am a fierce stand for that. And that is one of my focuses. And I know some things, but I don't know all of the things. But this is why I'm running the Burnout to Balance practice again, because it addresses this. And why I just did the whole podcast series, the last one, that's all about the different overs. If you missed that, definitely tune in. And so there's these projects that I have that are within that stand that I'm saying, I choose this. I choose to commit to this. But I'm committed to that now from equinox to equinox. I'm saying yes to it for a whole cycle of equinox to equinox. So just seeing what I'm saying there, my business year, my goal year, my intention year runs from March to March. So when I'm looking at my business, even though I have to do taxes on a lunar or linear year, I'm actually looking at my year March to March. And it opens up all of this space. And the wisdom teaching is, if you set those focuses, if you set those intentions, if you commit with the devoted heart to them, and get that you're in co-creation with the universe, with the earth, with humanity, with your own self, you're going to create an alignment. You're going to create an alignment. So just starting to think about that. And that's why we pause at the solstice and do another power pause. And why we pause again at the equinox, and why we work the moon cycles. Like, this isn't just like, oh, this is nice little fun stuff. We learned to work with the moon and the solstices. Yay. No, like, this is so powerful. And one of the things that makes me, I don't know if it makes me sad. I don't know exactly my emotion. I'm sad about it. I'm mad about it. Well, mostly I'm my hand is opening, like I'm motivated and inspired and a little bit on fire in a good way to bring this wisdom forward to the people who really are willing to do things differently. It's another one of my focuses, of my 3 focuses, is to teach and guide, show people a path and the practice to creating soul-aligned, sustainable success that creates and leads to realities that are rooted and centered in wholeness and well-being and wellness and interconnection. And it's not easy. It's like yoga. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, I think I might die if I stay in this pose for one more second. And other times you're like, I'm just going to lay in Shavasana. And otherwise it feels like a great flow. But that is life. Life is a yoga. Yoga means union. And this is one of the reasons why I practice yoga and I teach yoga, is that yoga teaches you how to know the difference between when what you're doing is stretching you versus when it's actually distressing you. So just take a breath. This is why we get the whole year together to explore all this, and then the years to come. So wherever you're at on this path, whether this is new or you have been exploring this for a long time and you're elevating in your own understanding and practice, we're all elevating. We're never done. I'm elevating. I'm learning, just like all of you. And then the last thing is, and I'll just say that the other piece to this, the last thing is about really putting your stake in the ground to say, I choose to prosper. And I love that word prosper. Prosper means to thrive or flourish. It's not I'm going to go become prosperous or I am going to create prosperity. It's that you say, I am that. I have within me innately as a human, I am meant to prosper. And that doesn't mean that we get the 5-car garage house, hooty woody, Rolls Royce, whatever in our imagination is what we think is what we need. Especially not where we're going right now, because the models of how we've been taught to look at success and design our lives and create sustainability and security are crumbling apart because they have to. And so you can either try to, as the Hopi elders say in their beautiful missive, hold on to the shore, grab on and just stay put and watch everything crumble, or you can actually start to or continue to create and make shifts and changes that support the foundation of you prospering. And so just think of that word prosper and bringing that in. And so the thing that we do as we look at this year, the fourth thing, is this is a time at the equinox to reset your rhythm, to reset your daily rhythm, to reset your weekly rhythm, to reset your monthly and your yearly rhythm. But you can just even start with your weekly rhythm and your daily rhythm. And what's the rhythm that you need to support you to go through the shift that you're in right now? Because we're all in a shift. Hopefully you're awake to yours. Hopefully you're aware to yours. And what is that rhythm that's going to support you to do that? For example, I've talked about this a little bit already, is I know that in general, I need to reclaim Sundays for myself. And today we have the Feminine Wisdom Way Power Pause happening. So I am working today, but I made sure that I did not start working before noon, and also just sat with Noah and said, look, like I'm totally willing to do things on Sundays, but I am not willing to work before noon. And that was me reclaiming my Sundays. But that I know that for me, that's one shift. That I'm not going to be the 6 day. I call it the 6 day entrepreneur model, where I get one day off and that's it. And it's not off, but it's space that I need to just be not on email, not on the computer. And so just thinking about that rhythm, and we reset the rhythm just between now and solstice. What is that rhythm that's needed weekly and daily for you? So that's the Scoopio. I don't know, Scoopio is not a word. I just made up a word. Okay. So, the other thing I wanted to say about equinox, why I love taking a power pause at this time, is that nothing that you have done up until now is wrong. Just take that in for a second. Nothing that you've done up until now has been wrong, whether it's the choices that you have made, habits you've been involved in, the patterns that you've set up. Nothing's wrong. So there's no fault, no need for criticism, no need for judgment. You can just release that. Take an exhale. Because we stand here at the equinox, and if you were looking at the yearly calendar the way that I teach it, which is as a circle, the bottom of the circle is the December solstice, and then we come up left, so that's in the south. The west is the equinox. We're at that midpoint line. It's almost like if we came up from the earth and we're standing on fresh ground and we're like, oh, okay, what's needed now? What's needed now? And so you can let go of whatever has been so that you don't have to carry that judgment with you and really say, okay, then what's needed now? So I'm going to take you into a meditation, a visualization that's going to give you some insight into where the imbalances are and how you can shift them. And of course, there's people all over the world listening. Hello to everybody that's here. I'm just so blessed to be here again for yet another year of Feminine Power Time. And I just want to say thank you so much for continuing to show up, for continuing to tune in, because it's what keeps me going, and hopefully in knowing that this actually is making a difference for you. I really feel like Feminine Power Time helps us keep the beat and set a rhythm which helps us stay centered even within the chaos of the world. Okay, let's take a look at your life and kind of illuminate the imbalances. I kind of said, okay, like what's one thing I can do to just start to get you really in this equinox energy and make it powerful and personal to you. So it can help to close your eyes if you want, or you can just be here with me and kind of looking out at the beautiful water right now and these trees. And if you were to think of yourself as standing in the middle of your life, this is one of the teachings key to creating sustainable success, is stopping being a juggler of balls and a plate spinner and a multitasker, or for God's sakes, please don't try to do work-life balance and work-life integration. This is much more about standing in the center of your life as a conductor. And around you are the 8 realms of a whole and harmonized life. I'm not going to go into all 8 realms right now because to do that on a podcast would definitely